Hi my friend, it's Pat Sloan here for Block Wednesday, and we are on block number 10 of Summer Soiree, and our theme is surprises. I think parties are just more fun when there's a little bit of element of surprise, something you weren't expecting. So first let me show you the block. Ta-da! It looks like confetti to me, like, all kind of like a piñata blew up, or there's some sort of fun thing that's happened at the end where confetti is blowing. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this block today, but first let me tell you a little story. I tell you one about a event that had a surprise in the pattern, but another one was where we were all gathered up and we didn't know where the event would take place, and a bus came. No, this one, no, we walked and we walked to the baseball stadium in Houston, right downtown, and there was our event held in the stadium. And on the Jumbotron were pictures of the group and different things that went on. And there was a band playing and a barbecue, and they had cups made up for, like sporty type cups. So it was just super, super fun. Very unexpected, something you always remember. And I don't think it has to be that big and grand to be something that you'll remember. Like, we're quilters, and I'm sure that you've probably done something with your quilt friends where maybe you had little favors that you made for everybody, and I imagine that maybe you still have that. Like, I have a little needle case that my friend made all of us, and it's just, I treasure that, and I remember that event because of the needle case. So there's always something to cause and have a surprise. Now, the block is great in repeat. I'll pop a picture up here of it in repeat so you can see, and I just can imagine using scraps to do all this. I would really love to make it with some scrappy backgrounds, like all different kind of backgrounds. For mine, I chose to go with the solid background that I'm using. And it's a lot of solid there, but I really wanted those to pop off. I didn't want them to blend into those other lights. So let's take a look at the blocks that I have so far. So we can take a look at the colors that I've already used in the Summer Soiree, which is quite a few of them now. I think the yellow is the only color that I've only done a little bit of. So this block, the surprise block, would be good to sprinkle in a lot of colors. So you could either do every single one of those triangles as something different, a different fabric. You could do it, with just maybe 4 fabrics. So I'm going to show you this, but I wanted you to first take a look at how all the blocks look together, and I'm loving the different sashings. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but I think it looks good. I really love it. So with only 3 more blocks, well, actually 2 after you make today's, you'll be rounding this guy out. So let's take a look at how I picked the fabrics I wanted to use. At first I thought maybe I would just use somewhat tonal fabrics for this and not so many. So let's just take a look and see what I kind of went through for this. Here's the block again. We got surprises. Yes. Okay. So here is the sort of set of tonals. Now, if I did it like this, I would need 4 of each, because there's 4 fabrics, there's 4 rows. So you would put one, there'd be 1 of each in each row, which I think would be nice. And I did them all with fabrics that read just red, black, blue, and orange, not with the multiple colors. But then I thought, well, what if I did just 2 of each of these and then picked the set with more print in them? And that's what I think I liked, because it gives me a bit more variety, which will play, I think, well with how the blocks are turning out. So I did this orange print, this blue print, I did gray for the black, and then this red. Now, the next thing I did was shift over here. I decided to cut them with the Go machine. So this is the Go Me, which is the very small one. Super easy, super light, does a tremendous amount of things, including 2.5-inch square triangles. And I wanted to show you a die that I got recently that I'm in love with, because it's a multiple die. Oops, let me take this off. So this die has both the 2.5-inch square, 2.5-inch half square triangles, and then, whoops, I forgot for sure. Yeah, it's a 4.5-inch square, which is here. So you have this multi-die, which is just tremendous for, economy and space, so you don't have to have as many dies. Now, if I was going to use just the 4 fabrics in here, then what I would do would be to cut a strip of each. Here we go. I would cut a strip of each, and they would be, I wrote a note, about 3.5 by 6.5 or 3.5 by 7, and then I would layer them like this, and then I would fold them in half. So the right sides together. Of course, this is a solid. I'm using the solid for this block, background fabric, and this strip. So when I cut it, when I fold it like this, I've now got 4 layers, and I will put it right on top of the 2.5-inch square portion of the die. Let me just put this guy over here so I can run it through. So now I need to put the lid on the top and then just slide it in. Now I'm cranking it. Whoops, you can't see that, can you? There we go. Now it's coming out that side. So I'm just cranking it through, and it is going to cut all those. And there will be 4 of each. So if I was going to do just the 4 fabrics, that would be the way it would work. So get those. I'm still perfecting when there's a little bit of static. So here, that you can see that we've got all the dies cut. I didn't press them. Shame on me. I probably should have pressed the fabric, but I didn't. So there you go. They go through nicely anyways. And there's a little bit of waste because I could have made them a little bit smaller. So once you get used to doing this, you can make them a little bit tighter. Now I will put these into my crumb block. And then this other little bit of waste will go away. Now if I wanted to do all 8 fabrics with all of these, with the prints and the solids, then I just want to do half of that size. Here, I got it. Half of that size, about 3.5 by 3.5 for one square. So you would layer up like 2 of those, or maybe even another one on top. You might be able to get that many. Or I can just do the one and then go ahead and run him through. Whoop. And you're going to come out with that guy, which will be so awesome. So then I will have all of these half square triangles cut. See, it's still, I could make it a little, I could have made it a little bit smaller, like cut off, it made it 1/2 inch smaller. So I just cut those pieces in advance. So now I have all these that I can just run right through the machine because they're already right sides together. The corners are already trimmed up, so I just run them through and press them open, and I don't have to resize them or anything. They don't need to be trimmed, they're perfect. So just as long as your 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is also good. So be sure you check your 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now that is how I decided to think about this block and get all the little parts together. Just like that, look, there's a whole bunch of half square triangles. Now I'm gonna go press them. So the block is all done, but I wanna give you another little tip. So here is the shape, and there's just one shape, and you're doing this shape over and over, and then you're just rotating it. There's two different rotations on one line, and then 2 different rotations on the second line. And so it's still the same block. Now, if you happen to make this block and you don't, get the short side on the correct place and the long side on the correct place, don't worry. Just follow the pattern to make the triangles go where they should. Make those go where they should. The light part won't matter. Now, let's pretend you are the designer of this block and you didn't sew them in the right place the first time. Well, then you have a decision, don't you? Because you either have to take them off and put them on the right place, or you have to go back to the diagram and redraft the diagram, do re-edits, because people will be looking at this, like 300,000 people. So, I had to, if you were the designer, I had a little date with Jack, so mine are all correct. Now the other thing I wanted to show you for doing half square triangles is this bigger die. I did the demo with the three different dies on one, which I think is a great value. But if you want to do lots of 2.5 inch half square triangles, getting this bigger die will work, but you need the bigger machines. This won't go in the small machine because it's too wide. So it has to go in the big machine, but that is super, super fun. Now in the Whiskey in a Teacup book, there's still lots of great stories and great chapters in here. And I decided to read up on the one this week called Why Southern Ladies Love Holidays. So because I love holidays so much, and I know this comes from my granny, who was just the ultimate holiday decorating person. And if you have a few of my books, you've seen some pictures of and heard some stories about Granny. So I must be Southern. Anyway, this is a fun little chapter where she talks about the things that they do, and there's like, this would be like a fun surprise, like to have some sort of singing at your event or karaoke or something like that. So one thing for sure, when you make your block, remember to tell me about a surprise that you either did for a party or were experienced at a party, because I think that's what makes all this fun, is having the theme and then hearing your stories about it. Now I do want to remind you, if you haven't watched my last couple videos or gone to the website, be sure that you get in on sewing the Holly Jolly wreaths. You can do them, I'm doing them in my friend Bev's Christmas fabric, and you could do them in any kind of jelly roll. So I think here's one from Joanna Figueroa with the fall colors, but I think anything, wreaths could be anything. So this is really quite generic in a way for fabric. So do whatever wreath works for you, like fabric. Just get in on it, in on it and play. And there's a PDF version that you can purchase. So if you don't want to wait for the print, you can just get that. And if you're in another country, it's a lot faster to get the PDF than to wait for a printout. And I did also finish, ta-da, I got all of the wave stitching done. You can see it on there. And then someone asked about the back. Well, I used from the Spooky Sampler, I used a piece that was left from the kit. So this is one of those fabrics. And then you can see the peach on there of the wave stitch. So this will eventually get some binding on it. Then I can enjoy it for a little bit. Okay, so you are going to make your surprise block. And I don't know, I think I should do a whole quilt of this. I just really think it would be fun. At least I need to do one other block where I make the background scrappy. And when you make this, you can share it over at my community, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan, which is open to the public. You don't even have to be on Facebook to be able to share. You can come as a visitor. And you can also link it at my website today, because I've got the sharing part at the very end, the quilt show part where you can share. Okay, my friends. I love you. Mwah. See you online.